The VSCode Raspberry Pi Pico extension continues to improve, but it still needs a little help to build a complex or real project. In this video, I'm going to download a complex project directly from GitHub, build it and flash it onto my Pico without ever leaving VSCode. Grab that coffee and let me take you through it. Hi, I'm John, your concierge to the world of the Raspberry Pi Pico, Pico 2, robotics, IoT, and other fun slices of tech. If that sounds like your kind of adventure, and why wouldn't it, hit subscribe and join the community. If you've been on my channel for a while, then you probably know that I'm not the biggest fan of VSCode. I'll talk a little more about that at the end of the video and my reasons for it, as well as some of the alternative approaches I use. VSCode continues to improve though and grow in popularity, and the tools integrate into VSCode get better and better. Why doing this video I don't think I could have done smoothly 18 months ago. Perhaps VSCode is coming of age. What do you think? If this video sparks your inspiration or helps your projects come along, then consider dropping me a tip using that super thanks button that's just below the video, or alternatively there's a payment link in the description. I really appreciate these because it helps me keep these videos coming and working on the channel. Please subscribe and like the video. Now, I've looked at the VSCode extensions for the Pico before, and I looked at how easy it is to create really simple projects. So just selecting one of the Pico examples, having it pull down and create that for a project for you. Now, these projects all have a really simple structure, that they just have the overriding project folder and then the CMake list.txt file, which controls how the build is going to work, and your main program, or perhaps more than one source file in that folder, and everything just builds from there. Of course, it builds into another folder. It generally builds into a folder we call build, and that's where we actually get our binaries produced. The ELF binary that we use for SWD programming via a Pico debug probe, or the UF2, which we can use if we're using the boot cell approach to flashing a Pico. Now, the problem with this is that isn't my normal structure for a project, certainly a complex project. And that's what I want to talk about in this video, because although yes, we're going to end up with a build folder, and that's going to have an ELF binary and a UF2 binary just as we did in our simple project. And yes, there is still going to be a top level CMake list.txt file in our project folder. That's all true. But the source folders now, well, the source, I'm now actually going to put them under another folder called src or source. And generally that will have quite a number of source files, and that's why I tend to like to keep it separate a bit. And yes, that's got another CMake list.txt file in there to control that. Projects aren't really all my code. I like to use lots of other libraries because that helps me build more quickly and use all of the capabilities those libraries bring. So things like FreeRTOS kernel that I use a lot in my projects, which gives me multi-processor capability to run lots of threads or processes at the same time. Now, I generally put those under another folder called lib, and there may be several of these libraries in there, all as folders below there, and all with lots of different source files within them. Now, those libs actually are slightly more complicated than the other folders because I frequently don't actually copy the libraries into my code directly. I use something within the world of GitHub called a submodule, and the reason I do that is it provides a link and a dependency check of what someone else's work has been used in mine, rather than just copying it in. So it's sort of a subtle but a preference. I might talk about that a bit more in a video. Complex libraries like FreeRTOS kernel are actually a little more complicated. They can't really run directly on the Pico because they're designed to run on lots of platforms. So we need to configure them a bit or port them to our platform. And so I often also have another folder called port for porting my libraries onto my platform. And each of those will then have folders on one within there of the various configuration files for each of the libraries I'm using. So this structure has suddenly become much more complicated, and when we try and use the natively the Pico extension to build it, it actually won't work. But there are other tools that will, and actually this is now really easy to use. In fact, it's so easy we can pull the whole project, which is this project that I've created on GitHub, directly from GitHub, directly in VSCode, and build it and then flash all in one set of steps without ever moving outside of VSCode. To do this magic, we're going to need to use some extensions to VSCode. And the extension we're going to use is, of course, the Raspberry Pi Pico extension. And when we've installed that, actually we gain another even more useful extension called the CMake Tool extension. And it's the combination of those that we need to make this all work. So if you haven't installed this before, actually within Visual Studio Code, there's the extensions button here that you can press. And when that opens up, we can search for Pi Pico as an extension, and we can install that. This will take a little while to install when you install that, and it will also take a little while when you first use it, while it downloads some stuff in the background. The other extension here is CMake Tools, and that's automatically been brought in for us. So in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to bring up the command prompt with Shift Command P or Shift Control P, and I'm going to go clone from GitHub as a command here, and I'm going to give it the URL of my repo, and it's then going to ask me where I would like to put that on my file system. So I'm going to select a local workspace that I want to work in and put it, and this is going to download all of the code and all of the submodules in one go. So I've then got all of the code ready to build locally on my machine, and once it's got them there, I can then open that project, and here we go. We have now got all of that source code. So let's just open up the source tool and have a look there, and you see the source program, and this program's a really simple program. So opening main, and it's really just going to flash the LED using the status LED library. But it's going to do it inside FreeRTOS kernel, so it's going to do it inside a task. Our make file, of course, is then therefore going to need to go and get the FreeRTOS kernel library and configure that all up for us. So that's all there, the port and the library code. So if we go into the Pi Pico tool and we say that we want to import this, we can say that we want to import this project and we want it to be a CMake Tool project and use a CMake Tool extension, plus I'm going to use the SWD flashing option. Now that will then ask me what compiler I'd like to use and try to find a compiler on my machine, and I've given it the version 14 compiler. All good, but this immediately crashes because it's immediately tried to build it using the Pico extension, and the Pico extension can't build projects that are of this structure and complexity. So what we actually need to do at this point is go into the CMake tool, and we want to do a build. So I haven't got a pinned command there for build, so let's just add one. So pushing the plus there, we can add a build command and we can run that build command. And this will go and take my CMake file and go and run the CMake and then the make in order to build it. And there we go. Very, very quickly, we have the ELF file built for us already. Cool, already, all built, all done in one tool. So let's jump back to our Pico extension, and we'll say we will flash via SWD that ELF program. And it's flashing that over now, and I can see the chunks going. There we go, we've got it, and my Pi Pico has started to flash. I confess, I don't normally use VS Code to build my project, as I've shown in this video anyway. Even this example I built using my traditional approach, and then I worked on the script to download it, compile it and flash it from within VS Code. You can call me a dinosaur if you like, but I actually still use the command line to compile most of the time. Partly that is because I'm set in my ways, though I also have a multi-screen setup, which until recently would have been difficult to replicate in VS Code. For some of my projects, I've also got test harnesses that are running in Python, ROS2 utilities that I'm running, and multiple serial terminal emulators. So my dinosaur tools approach can be a bit more flexible, though if I were starting my journey again, I think I would surely start in VS Code. Using a command line toolchain does give me flexibility in choosing which tools I use and when, and how I adapt them. It also lets me see what's going on under the covers a little bit more than VS Code does, and that can help me with some of the debugging. It's a choice though, and not a recommendation. Key for me is to be able to share my code in a way where others like you can use it and compile in the way you choose. VS Code would make that slightly harder, as it tends to leave its mark on those CMake list.txt files. What do you think? If you like this video and it helps you out or sparks ideas for your own projects, consider supporting me with that super thanks button below the video, or there's a payment link in the description. I'm saving these up to get myself over to the Open Source Conference in San Francisco in 2026, and every contribution brings me one step closer, and I'd love to meet you there too. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please give me a thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss the next video. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye for now.